It's called Advanced Answering Techniques. So it is three professional people explaining to other people how to answer different questions, a multiple variety of questions. Advanced Answering Techniques.
Hello and welcome to Advanced Answering Techniques. I'm one of your co-hosts. My name is Josh. You're listening to a podcast where we take listener questions, we wrap them up with brown paper in a little shoebox with a pretty pink bow. And I'm joined by two co-hosts. Caleb, you just recently read Matrix fan fiction in public, and we all remember the Wachowski brothers, don't we? What do you think they think reality is? Using the here's what I'm thinking. Using the metaphor of the Matrix, it seems like they think this is reality that we share. This is not the real one, right? Because this is the reality where they became women. So this is the one where you can stop bullets, and if you're a schlubby guy, you can magically become a beautiful lady.
Beautiful, yeah.
So what do you think?
Beautiful.
I think they're
one of them. Is beautiful.
I think they're really beautiful ladies. They were just kind of schlubby Polacks, and now they're beautiful ladies.
I think, So, given the extent that they went to make their, I guess, dreams come true,
right?
And that's a real tricky one, right? It's like, well, my brother's becoming a woman. Oh man,
yeah,
maybe I will too. Like they didn't do it at the same time.
No, they didn't.
It's sort of, yeah.
He was like, "Look how beautiful my brother's becoming."
Maybe that's what's wrong with me. Maybe that's why I'm fat, is that I'm a man, and it's not true. I think, they must believe that. Okay, if they believe that this is the Matrix,
right,
then it's a lot worse than the Matrix they dreamed up. Because in the Matrix they dreamed up, they would have been able to just choose like an option to make themselves into.
If they could get hold of reality in whatever way allows you to stop bullets and all that kind of stuff, then they would be able to just become beautiful.
Yeah,
beautiful
they would have
women.
been able to go to their like character attributes, the settings, and just swap some things around and be the thing they wanted to be.
Yeah.
Instead, they had to undergrow. Probably growing.
Yeah.
Probably some growings involved. And I do think it's not the good kind of growth.
Right.
It's undergrowth.
Very personal growth.
Yeah, they had to undergo some very insane surgeries to make this.
Yeah.
To me, that should convince them that this is reality. The fact that they had to do those things to make their wishes.
It wasn't quite as malleable as they might have hoped.
Yeah. So if the other thing is, like this virtual world we live in and inhabit is very similar to a world in which it's not virtual and it's very real, and you have to undergo surgery.
Right.
So they still seem committed to their Matrix idea.
Yeah.
So that other world, the reality world, must be like really insane. Like a lot more work to do everything.
Yeah. Gabe, he's our other co-host. We have Gabe here.
Hi.
Do you think Biden's still alive?
Yeah.
You do?
Yep. Still kicking.
Easy question.
Still kicking ass.
I think he's still alive too.
Yeah.
But it's also like, what would have to if he's not, and they're waiting for a time to release the news that he's dead. I was kind of wondering what kinds of things would they be waiting for to use that. Maybe that's in their back pocket.
Well, I think if he is dead, they're probably holding out hope that he could still become Pope.
Oh yeah, no.
So if he becomes elected the new Pope,
they're gonna wait for they're gonna wait for the smoke, and then.
So once they know that that's no longer an option, that there's already a different Pope in there, then I think that might be the trigger for them to be like, all right, well,
Yep.
he didn't even want it. He's dead. He can't want anything.
Wait,
He actually didn't care.
they're gonna wait until the new Pope is elected.
Yeah.
Yeah. Selected.
Yes,
It's true.
Selected. The new pope is selected to reveal that Joe Biden is dead.
Yes.
Because Joe Biden maybe wanted to be pope,
Yes.
but that
Well-
couldn't happen anyway because he's
No,
dead.
no. But this is the thing.
But it
if
would be
he's-
cool for him to just get the nod, right?
Right. Well, but also it's like if he's already dead, but he still like exists, then it's like, well, yeah, it's not the Joe Biden that we all know and love, but it's this, stand-in or an actor. That's
They would find some way.
They'd
I
keep
guess-
the Biden like brand going.
I
you know?
guess it could be also just that like they were the conclave selects Joe Biden as pope. It comes out when they say we chose Joe Biden to be pope, and
We
then the Biden
loved his
family
work as
goes,
president. We like to see.
"Yeah, we loved how everyone could do all this stuff around him, and that's the kind
Yeah.
of pope we want."
We would like to have that.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so then they choose him, and then the Biden family goes, "Sorry, he's dead."
But maybe we could interest you in a hunter.
Which is too bad. Because the Shepherd Ferry Pope election campaign poster writes itself.
Yeah,
It just says Pope.
pope.
Pope we can believe in.
Yes.
That's great. We used to include various other things here in the podcast. We used to do poems, and sometimes there'd be a song and that sort of stuff. All the stuff that I used to do, like that, is now on my Substack. I've got it's cranking right along, and there's stuff going up there. That's sturvinson.substack.com. You can go check that out. Please do. Caleb also has a Substack.
Yeah, it's CGRAHAMS.substack.com.
Yeah, that went really well.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. I've figured it out.
Yeah. And here's something I wrote for you guys to help
The
get the
letter
word
C,
out.
by the way, not
Yeah,
the word
right.
C.
It's C. Yeah.
C.
So
Graham S.
actually that's good. That's a good place to start because the title of this poem is cgrams.substack.com and sturvinson.substack.com. Both of my brothers have Substacks and I don't have one. But when I read my brother's Substacks, I only have fun. So be more like me. Have two brothers that write stuff for free. Well, one has a paid subscription, the other's less greedier. But I honestly can't say which one is needier. If you don't have two brothers, you can pretend that you do. Go to each of mine's Substacks for great writing for you.
For what?
For great writing for you.
Oh, yes.
So that won't be on Substack, but if you want things that are at least as good as that, you should check out.
I don't know. It sets, in my opinion, sets quite a high bar, and I think Gabe should be on Substack. He'd be blowing us all out
I
of the
can't
water.
find the button. So
Oh, boy.
yeah.
It's a sneaky button.
I had a real
sneaky
scare
button.
today. I was looking at one of Caleb's posts, and that wasn't scary.
You thought maybe you had clicked like on it?
Yeah.
I did click like because I was trying to
no.
see who had liked it, but don't worry, I was really quick to unlike the
it
post
immediately.
immediately.
Good.
Keep my
good.
streak alive.
I
of
didn't
not
think
having
I'd
that
written
streak.
anything scary.
No, it was
Nothing
just
too
my
scary.
interaction with it that really frightened me.
Yeah.
I like that. That's what I would like more of.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I'm assuming is happening.
People are getting scared.
Yeah.
What do you think they're getting scared? You said you didn't think.
Well,
you'd
to me,
written
it was
anything
kind of
scary.
frightening because I clicked it and it turned a different color. It looked like it was full of blood.
Yeah. I made that happen.
Yeah.
I changed the settings.
It's
on
just
Substack, so
sort of an outline of a heart, and then you click it and it fills with blood.
Yeah.
I know that's what a heart is kind of supposed to be doing,
Yeah. Right.
but that is
Not
a
that
little
kind of heart.
unnerving. Exactly. It doesn't actually serve any function on
Yeah.
the web UI.
It
what I
doesn't
was-
serve any function, and then they're making it so that it actually fills up with
fills
blood.
up with blood.
And so that's just seems unnecessary to me.
And rather frightening.
yeah. And if you unlike something you did like,
it's like I'm killing
just
somebody.
shoots blood out.
Like I'm emptying
Yeah.
their heart of
They're-
blood.
blood.
Oh boy. Yeah, that's not good. That's not good. I was saying I think what's happening is people are getting scared they like my post, but they
Yeah.
get scared to press the button.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I see.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It
So
could
it's
be
just the
because
brave people who
Only
keep
the
them
bravest people
bravest up there.
are liking it.
only those who can stomach
Yeah.
seeing a heart fill with blood.
We also had 2 comments on Spotify on the last episode.
Wow.
We have gone, I mean, I think it could be over a year with no comments.
What could compel 2 people on the same episode to comment on the same thing? Did they comment about the same?
They commented almost the same comments.
Wow.
So I want to try to suss this out a little bit. I actually don't know which of these landed first. I'm going to assume that it was Joy. Joy commented on the creativity. It was us answering our mother about unleashing your creativity. And she said, this was genuinely an inspiring episode to be creative.
Oh, wow.
And
I think we failed.
I'm very curious about that, because then the fact that that Julie also commented on the same episode and said, loved this episode, so encouraging and inspiring. It feels a little like we're being trolled
I think
bit.
we might be. The fact that they are related to one another
Yeah.
only, I think,
Yeah.
bears more evidence that that might be the case.
It's very kind to comment on the Substack. I think we've basically given up hope of the not the Substack, on Spotify, on the podcast, of like having like some kind of organic grassroots thing happen
Right.
via the Spotify platform. But it's to be honest, it's inspiring to see.
Yeah.
It's a good feeling, people commenting.
I don't care what anyone says, honestly. It's
Yeah.
just good to have someone saying something.
I know as long as people are talking,
Yeah.
there's no bad publicity, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. I think that's what Russell Brand is saying right now.
Is there something going on with him? I don't know.
Yeah, he's on trial.
Oh.
Yeah. Anyway,
Does it make sense or does it not make sense?
it's not worth keeping up with, but I did happen to see it,
Okay.
so it was on my mind.
Yeah, I did think, speaking of people talking about things, sometimes, I mean, quite regularly, we get a very supportive text from our mom
Yep.
about the most recent episode, saying she enjoyed it.
Yeah.
We did not get that text this past week.
I got an in-person text.
You did? Oh,
as in
okay.
a quick conversation with my mom.
Okay.
Yeah.
She
And
said she liked it.
Oh, okay, cool.
That's
That's
good.
a relief, because I haven't heard anything. So I was just on tenterhooks.
Maybe
over
she was
here.
just trying to seem cool to me
You think so?
because she knows you guys think
Right.
she's cool.
Yeah. Huh?
Yeah, she's trying to do a little extra work with Caleb.
Yeah. This is true. Is Caleb going to be there? Do I need to bring my sunglasses?
Guys, we have quite a question today.
Oh, boy.
This is going to be a weird one to listen to because it's so long. And sometimes even when the questions are short, it feels they can still, like, just us in the room listening to something like this together can just feel long. So I just want people to know that it's going to, like, our internal reactions to this, or it's going to be a roller coaster. It's about a 5-minute question. So I think we should probably go ahead and
buckle in.
get to it and buckle up. And here we go.
Yeah, I have just a question for you fellas about, basically the reason I'm coming up with this question here is that because I have to know what the difference is between when strangers are meeting in the night and a cold, dark night, and they need to have information about one another. Maybe they're walking towards each other and it's dark. Like I said, it's a cold, dark night, and so they're walking towards each other. They need to know some things about each other. Are they dangerous? Are they friendly? Is there a big hug in the way? Or, coming towards them? Or is it a knife? Or is it just a completely non-essential passing of two strangers in the night, in a cold, dark night, if you will. And so the reason that I have to ask you that question is because I need to give you some context. I just realized I need to give you a little bit of context on this kind of thing. And context is, a very good clue for people asking questions as well as being answered those questions. So you guys need to have some of that context is what I'm basically saying. And so a couple years back, I was going to a concert down in the downtown district, and it was a concert that was, I thought, what I was expecting was just some jazz music. That's the kind of music I prefer. And, they say that jazz is the American classical music. And I can't disagree with that because I've listened to a lot of classical music. And in my time, I can see the similarities between jazz and classical music. Violins aren't necessarily part of jazz, but you might hear some violins here and there in jazz music. Anyway, this concert that I was going to, I thought it was a jazz concert, and so when I headed to the jazz concert, there was, pardon me, there was what I thought was a jazz concert. I went to this show, and it turned out to be a rock and roll show. And I don't prefer rock and roll over jazz. I could see how nowadays people might confuse those two things. They might say, well, rock and roll and jazz are very similar, but I don't think so. I don't think, especially you can't say that they're more similar than jazz and classical music. I wouldn't say that. I would say that jazz and classical are much more closely linked than jazz and rock and roll. So anyway, it turned out to be a rock and roll show, and I didn't like that. And so when I was walking home from the show, I had to walk down a very dark alley. And it did actually happen to be cold that specific night. I think it was in January, and for our downtown district, historically, that is a cold night. And so I had to go down a dark alley, and it was cold, and so I had to figure out, I had to keep an eye out for strangers that might be coming down the alley, and so I just needed to know exactly what you would do in a situation like that. Do you pull up stakes and run for the other direction, away from this stranger down the alley? Is he going to give you a hug? Do you prepare for that, or that knife? I just can't figure it out. I mean, so what I ended up doing was jumping into a garbage dumpster, and I hid, but I don't know if I hid so well, because when he came by, when he passed my direction, he kind of stopped at the dumpster. I heard his footsteps stop kind of at the dumpster. You know how you can kind of get a sense, even when you're not looking at someone, seeing them, then, you might get a sense of there's somebody looking in my direction, even though you might not be able to see them and they can't see you. That just might be, a fifth sense. Well, I guess it's a sixth sense, but anyway, that's what I ended up doing, is jumping into the garbage dumpster, and then, he paused, and then he walked by, and that was that. But I just want to know what you think might be the best solution in that case. Okay, thank you very much for your call. We'll talk to you later. Bye.
That was about 5 minutes, 14 seconds. We usually say we're looking for something about a minute in length. But that one was a little longer, and I guess it made it through the screening process somehow. Ultimately, what's the question? The question, I believe, is what do you do when a stranger is walking towards you on a cold, dark night? What are the appropriate? How should you decide the action you should take? That sort of thing. Is there anything else we want to kind of address before we actually get into the question? Sometimes
couple
we
things.
do what to.
I have a couple things.
Yeah, go ahead.
One of mine was, let's say he said it was a fifth sense before he said it was a sixth sense.
Right.
So what if we have to get rid of one of our senses in exchange for the sense of someone is looking at you, or their gaze is in your direction? You can't see them. They can't see you, but you can tell that their gaze is towards you.
Yeah.
So which of your senses do you give up?
Sight.
You have to.
That makes sense. I think
Okay.
I think I'd give up sight.
Sight?
Yeah.
Yeah, sight. I actually would do.
Okay.
I would do sight.
I'll accept it. I will grant your wish.
I would do sight and hearing. I would give up both of those to know when somebody is looking at me.
Okay. So that seems like,
You're a little bit locked in.
yeah, that seems like, I mean, glad you had that idea. But let's
There's
stick
not
with
much you could
just
do
sight.
with the information.
Yeah, that's
once
the thing. Is you have a sense of when someone else is looking at you. You have more of a sense
Yeah.
of someone else's sight than your own sight.
Right. You don't have sight anymore.
Right.
So someone could be looking at you and
You go. You're
and you
looking
can't,
at me.
You can't, you can't, yeah, you could say that. You won't be able to hear yourself say it. You won't be
Yeah.
able to hear a response.
Or in Gabe's case, someone looks at him and he goes, "You're looking at me."
yeah. Somebody looking at me.
Yeah, I would give up sight and hearing and probably taste and also touch.
Wow.
You're just sort of you're just kind of a free floating orb
Yeah.
that is aware of when somebody's looking at
And
them.
can smell.
Yeah.
Okay, you can still smell. Well, that's good.
Yeah. So you could tell.
So I could probably sniff out the nearest garbage dumpster if I sense malintent coming my way. And I think this is kind of just
You wouldn't be able to feel your way to the dumpster.
Yeah. Yeah. You, and basically, what you are is a nose, an ephemeral nose.
Yeah.
Floating in space.
Well,
I mean,
not
that's
really.
how
I wouldn't
and-
say ephemeral. You're a static nose. That's the only.
No, I'm saying
existence
it's
that you
ephemeral
have.
because it has no sense of touch.
I would be
But no,
so
but
it's not.
it's not
only
in it. It's not
senses-
coming in and out of existence, though.
Okay.
I would be ephemeral for my own perception.
Right.
But to the world it's
You-
like I'm still just a
I see what you're saying.
You
I see
only
what you're
become. You only notice your
existence.
like your relationship to other people in the
Right.
sense of smell
Right.
and when someone looks at
yes.
you.
But this is the thing.
Can you
I was
imagine
kind
if
of
both of those things happened at the same time?
I was kind
Oh,
of
yeah, I mean,
imagining
you'd probably be blaming someone
that
for something.
if you give up all of those other not all of your senses, but 4 out of the 5 that you possess,
yeah.
and then you get that looking at. I can tell when people are looking at me.
Yeah.
I think if you give up all of them, you get a really good sense. So it's like it becomes whenever anybody's looking in my general direction.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I could
We'll
tell,
call
and
it
I could tell
gaze
from
awareness.
really far.
Really far away.
Yeah,
They don't even
exactly.
have to. So it's more that they're looking in your direction.
You're
They
right.
don't even have to be seeing you.
No, they
Yeah,
could
they're not
be.
seeing him.
Yeah.
It's just if someone on the other side of the planet
Yes,
gaze
is looking down.
Yeah.
happens to intersect with his quadrant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If someone
Yes.
in Ho Chi Minh City looks at the ground,
Right.
Yeah.
I can tell,
You're aware of it.
and I can smell.
And just
Do
think
you
of
know
what
them?
you could do with that.
Do you get any kind of sense of who it is, or it's just that it's happening?
I get the full printout.
Okay, then that's
I
pretty
get-
good.
Their social security number.
Even if they're Vietnamese.
If they're Vietnamese,
You know what I was just thinking of?
they might have they might have an American social.
could
Think
could
about
be.
how interesting it would be to give up touch and then not give up sight in the same situation. So you have no physical awareness of your body, except you can like see approximately like where you are in the world.
Right.
There might be some things you could still do, but you have no feeling of contact with the world around you.
Yeah.
You experience it just kind of as a very, very clumsy kind of drone,
Yeah.
flying around.
I mean, yeah, or flying around or wheeling around in a chair.
Or wheeling around in a chair.
So
perhaps.
does that address your the first point that you had about
Yeah.
the question?
Yeah. No,
we never
it's-
got a name from this guy.
We
either.
didn't. There's no name.
Michael.
That's right. You think it's Michael?
Sure, let's go with Mike.
Yeah, Mike is good. Mike's good. Yeah, so the other question was he's clearing his throat a lot, but he doesn't seem to have a cold.
Yeah.
So
Do you think
in
it's
what
because of the voice he's
circumstances
using?
do you guys think someone might be clearing their throat
Also-
a lot and not have a cold?
I feel like initially he's kind of cheating away from the recording device, but eventually he just decided to go the Caleb route of just right into
Right
the
into it.
device,
Yeah,
just
right
cough right
into it.
into.
Just
the
clear it out
device.
right there. I mean, I clear. I wake up in the morning and I'll clear my throat as I start talking, and go throughout my morning routine. I feel like sometimes the voice is just cold and there's some overnight scudge sitting on the vocal cords. You gotta
Yeah.
clear off.
Do you think this was a morning
So
record?
I think maybe he woke from maybe some sort of horrible nightmarish
Troubled
remembrance
sleep.
of this
right.
situation,
Yeah.
and then
Needed
thought,
to know.
there's only one way to get to the bottom of this, and it's going to take about 5 minutes.
I mean,
It's going to involve circling the concept
Yeah.
of jazz.
Yeah.
And, its
And also
relation
very
to-
helpfully laying out context. The idea of providing context. Which
context
I
is a
found,
clue.
Mhm.
Which is different than what you usually say, which is context is key.
Yeah.
But
Mhm.
in his circumstance, context is a clue,
Is a clue.
to the answer you should provide.
Right. Oh, you think that's what it was? Is the context was kind of telling us
How we
This
should,
is
yeah.
the
To
correct
know
answer?
that he was,
Yeah.
his frame of mind was such that he
Yeah.
was upset and disappointed about
Yeah.
not going to see jazz, but instead of being rock.
Right.
And then he meets someone on the way back. So he's
Yeah.
already pissed.
Yeah.
Because
What
I guess he stayed and watched the show even though he
Yeah.
doesn't like rock.
I think he got his fill, and then is upset,
Oh, no.
or at least leaves the show with this sort of
Agitated.
the world is against me feeling,
Right.
which might amplify that caution, that wariness you might have of somebody
Yeah.
approaching you.
Oh no, this is a jazz fan
Yeah.
approaching me.
Right.
I mean,
Yeah.
I guess he'd be happy about that.
Seems
Yeah.
like
Say-
he'd be more
He'd be
okay.
like, oh,
with-
cool, it's a jazz fan, but this guy maybe he's like this
Yeah.
rock and roll enthusiast.
yeah.
and he,
You
and
You
he-
think
approaching
you
me.
think because he saw rock and roll, he would think, oh, this guy likes rock and roll later in the
yeah,
street.
probably.
Just
I
saying.
would think my personal, I would kind of like, if you're thinking about, say, counting cards in a deck or something, keeping track of
I'm not.
which cards have come up in a deck, that's how you're able to kind of judge the percentage of a chance of certain cards coming up,
Yeah.
right? I would think that's where the rock show is. That's where the rock fans are. It's less likely that this guy is a
Interesting.
rock fan
But
because the
he's
concentration.
confused though. Because he's just going by the last thing he saw. That's the way this guy goes.
Oh yeah.
So he's
And also
Okay,
the-
again, I'm learning that sometimes the things that I come up with just don't fit for some reason.
Well, to be honest, that is what you just were doing. Is
I-
saying that what I said didn't fit.
Well, I was just trying to understand why you said what you said. And maybe you could
It's just
supply
the-
an answer because I was just saying this is what I would think, but you
Right.
don't think that.
I
wasn't saying you're wrong. I'm saying this would be my assumption.
All I was saying was that I think this guy, he could have thought, this is the context is
Yeah.
key. See, Josh?
Well, and I would say it's a clue.
So that he's going, oh no, this guy kind of sounds like a rock and roll guy. walking down the street towards me.
The step.
Doc Martin.
There's no.
It's kind of a
There's no
kind of a
snap.
backbeat step.
Yeah, there's no snap. If there's a snap, then maybe I think it
Yeah.
might be jazz.
Yeah.
Jazz enthusiast.
Sure.
Yeah.
So I'm just saying, from his perspective,
It's kind of a
without
step.
reasoning
Yeah.
through all of that, the most likely more rock and roll enthusiasts at the rock concert.
Right.
Maybe this guy took a break to do some other rock and roll stuff, and now he's coming back to here's some rock and roll music.
Yeah.
Then I don't know. Honestly, we have spent a good amount of time. He spent a lot of time talking about this.
The context of it.
Yeah, I don't think
Yeah.
we could go
Yeah.
wrong as
No,
far
no,
as like
no.
what we're choosing to
That's
focus
true.
on.
That's
here.
true.
Yeah.
So that's interesting.
It does
you think
kinda
you,
lead
you,
in.
you think that the psychology of this individual put on edge at a rock concert, it's from that point on, it's all rock. He believes he's in a world
full of rock
full
enthusiasts.
of rock enthusiasts.
Which is kind of true.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of people who like rock more than jazz, I'd say.
Yeah. Well, and if you
That's
open that
common
up to
thing.
rock and from just rock and roll,
yeah.
and then you open that up into people that are like geologists, then
Right.
it is like that becomes a number that I mean I don't think we can even really
fathom it once you combine rock and roll enthusiasts and kind of degreed geologists, people
Yeah.
who
Or
Or physicists.
had a degree in Why would you say physicists?
rolling.
Oh, I see. Movement.
True. Yeah, that's true. So those are rock and
Geologists
roll.
and
enthusiasts.
physicists.
Yeah.
And you think automotive.
Yeah.
folks.
I mean, Fred Flintstone
Yeah.
is so into rock and roll.
Yeah, well, and actually Dungeons and Dragons players then too, because they
Mm.
love rolling
Right.
the dice.
The rock.
And
Do
all gamblers.
they call them the rocks?
I call
Yeah.
it the rock.
Oh yeah.
That D
The 20-sided rock.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's a lot of people, and they all hate this guy. Is that what we're saying?
he's assuming that.
Okay. Yeah.
Because his hatred
Well, he
for rock
doesn't
and
really
roll.
know. He's saying, how do you decide? You see someone coming towards you.
Yeah. I was going to say.
What do you think is this person? I mean, I have never had a stranger. I think it's maybe something about my personality or my face, but strangers have never come up to me and tried to hug me in passing in an alley.
Yes.
I've never had it happen.
If that is if that's what you think might be likely or
Yeah.
probable, I would say that's one option you can just remove from the equation.
it seems unlikely that that's an outcome.
Right. I think we
I've
can-
never had
If
that.
someone is trying to hug you in an alley, I don't think it's rude to say no thank you.
you can say
Obvious.
no. thanks.
And that no thank you could be running away.
You could run away.
Yeah.
Running away. But I think you're going to have to look at the body language.
Yeah.
That's going to be key.
Yeah.
That's going to
Definitely.
be
It's going to be a
key.
clue. It'll be a clue.
You're right. It could be a clue.
Or
instead of being key.
maybe it is key. I
mean,
Well, I mean, some clues are keys. Sometimes.
yeah, sometimes you find a key.
You're like,
that
how did
says-
the murderer get in here? And then you find a
Find the
clue, and the clue is a key.
The clue is
And
a
it's
key,
the key.
and
And
when
that
you-
is actually
and
also
you know
the
it's
key.
the murderer's key
Yeah.
because
Yep.
because the person he killed had a key-shaped hole in their head.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also, this key is kind of like a heart that on Substack
Yeah,
that's
it's
been clicked
clicked and
and
fills
it's
up with
full of blood.
blood.
Yeah. Oh, there's blood all
Keys
over.
full of blood. He unlocked this guy's soul from his body.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Ka-chunk.
yeah. So I mean, that is true. The clues are key.
The
Yeah.
clues are key. So body language.
Yeah.
I've actually had people come up to me on the street and shove me before
Yeah.
just for smiling.
Strangers.
Just for smiling.
Yeah. A strange man one
Yeah.
time did this to me.
They did it because they were smiling or because you were.
I was smiling.
Yeah.
I
and-
just was given a good smile.
Mm-hmm.
This is early on in my time living in Portland,
Yeah.
Oregon.
Yeah.
And I'm going to be a smiling guy. And then I learned my lesson.
Yeah. People
I
are
got
like,
shoved.
there's my mark.
You're not allowed to.
If I'm going to shove
The
somebody.
man was insane.
Yeah.
He was not a normal man.
Right.
It wasn't just like a guy in a business suit
I
came
think
up and
that's-
shoved me
yeah.
for smiling.
I think that is who you're concerned about if you're walking down That's who you don't want to meet, is somebody who's insane. If you're walking in an alley, a dark, cold night in an alley.
Yeah, you don't. You want to meet. You want to see rational people.
Yeah, you want to judge by. I would say, what is the gait of a rational human being?
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of just a really straightforward kind of four on the floor.
Yeah.
But. That's kind of.
I mean, that's a little
That's
too
pretty
much
fast.
for me. Yeah, that I'm getting kind of scared.
That's moving ahead
no,
with
no.
pretty.
Maybe this guy
We
has.
go down to like 90 BPM.
Yeah, you want to hear something like that. You don't want to hear him. Oh, okay.
Like kind of like a saunter.
Yeah.
Here's
you
not
want them
so
to be
slow and
sauntering.
you
See,
can-
I don't know that. I would rather him be in a hurry to go somewhere.
Towards
You know what I mean?
Towards you?
Well, I mean, I want him to be on his way somewhere. You know what I
Okay.
mean?
Okay.
Yeah.
And so maybe a little bit of purpose. Maybe split the difference.
Okay, how about this? Let me give you this
Okay.
cadence and see how you feel about
Okay.
this. Boom. Boom.
No, that's. I mean,
starts-
he's dragging a foot.
Yeah. It's a gimpy leg, or
It's not a well man for whatever reason.
probably a zombie.
Yes.
Yeah.
2 + 2 is 4. Boom. He's rational.
Oh, I
Okay,
see.
All right. Yeah.
Yeah.
But he's
Boom.
Yeah,
disabled.
Boom. What do you do with that guy?
that guy.
See if
Well-
he needs a hand,
Yeah,
and I will trust his answer when he tells me yes or no.
yeah.
No.
I'll know that he thought it
No,
through.
I'm a rational man, and I already have 5 hands. I have extra hands.
Well, yeah. He's got 3 extra hands.
Boom.
Maybe he's
That's-
thinking cards. Maybe he's in the middle of a couple of card games, and has extra hands.
Boom. What I mean by hands is I've got several.
Oh,
I've got a flush,
I'm a little
Oh,
worried.
okay.
and I've got a. I've got a flush,
And
and I've got a
Yeah.
full house, as well as my
So they're
2
cards.
actual hands.
Mm.
I'm sorry if you misunderstood me,
yeah,
and I'm looking forward to passing you.
yeah.
Boom.
They're like poker cards.
So that was 2 extra hands, but not 3 extra hands.
I
which
just
I guess
did-
5 hands would be.
I didn't mention my other hand, which is a real hand.
Okay, so he's just carrying it around kind of loose in his pocket, or he's or it's another hand that he's had attached, or he's born with.
I was born with this other hand.
Okay, other hand.
But- boom.
Okay.
I would probably be most excited if I was walking down an alley in a dark, cold night and I heard,
Yeah.
Oh,
you know,
man.
like a little
Yeah.
horse
A little
Like-
centaur.
running towards me, or a
Oh.
centaur. That would
Or
be,
the
that'd be cool.
well, I think if you that's fine for you.
But you would.
But if I'm kind of feeling maybe a little Ichabod Crane, that's not my favorite sound to hear.
True. That's true. The headless
Because
horseman.
what if it's the headless horseman?
Yeah. I mean, that's talk
Yeah.
about like the
I've always-
anti-centaur.
Yeah.
That guy.
Yeah.
How do they know he's a horseman if he doesn't have a head?
What do you mean?
That's one of those defining parts of the horse.
I see.
So if
I
this
see
is-
what you're
this is
doing.
a
I see.
horseman.
It seems like you've misunderstood a little bit.
Okay,
Yeah. That he's
because it could be like some other hoofed
yeah.
animal.
Well, I think he still has. I think his hands and feet are hooved, so you can see that pretty obviously.
But the
He's-
horse
he's
part.
riding on a horse.
But the horse part's all in the head.
No, I'm saying it's in his hands and his feet as well. They're hooved, so you can see that.
Yes.
Yes, that's the horse
Okay.
part of this guy. That's how you know he's a headless horse man.
But then how do you know the man part?
What do you mean? He's got shoulders. He's sitting upright on the. It's
okay.
just,
And he's riding on a horse.
Yeah, he's got a-
he's also riding a horse.
he has a tail.
Right.
He's
so he's
riding
a
horse.
horseman.
But it is so hard to determine the intentions of an individual in a shadowy alley
Yeah.
in the night. And so we've said that body language is a good way. And that's where we were talking about the gait of
Right.
somebody's walk,
Yeah.
being able to assess what they might be trying to position themselves to do.
Are they? Yeah. Are they Are they staying aware of you, or is their head sort of bowed? Are they reaching into an inside pocket of a coat?
Yeah, and is it just for gloves, or is it for death?
Do they have that knife,
Yeah.
or what is going on?
What is happening?
Yeah. Do they have that knife?
I guess
Do they have some kind
Who
of.
are you? What do you want? I mean, you could just start out with that.
Yeah.
If I don't know how this guy, if this guy cares about how he's perceived
Right.
in society or
Yeah.
not. I don't know. I've got an idea
Yeah.
of that he doesn't particularly care,
Right.
Yeah.
since he's going to talk about how he doesn't like rock and roll, but he loves jazz.
Yeah. Not a popular opinion
Yeah.
in our day and age.
So he doesn't care about how he's perceived.
So I think he would probably be pretty comfortable just shouting at strangers.
Yeah.
Who are you? What do you want?
Who
what
are you?
doing here?
Yeah.
State
Yeah.
your intentions.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
that's a good opening line.
I do not consent.
Hold. Halt.
Yeah. Halt.
Stranger.
Yeah.
Who goes there?
Hail.
Please state your name.
Yes.
I think that's, I mean, for this individual, that might be the solution.
Yeah, and then I it's a good idea to ask, just to make sure, just ask for some ID too.
Yeah.
Because somebody can kind of say whatever
Whatever.
they want,
Well, yep.
name-wise.
Actually, I
Then you're
think
not a stranger anymore. either.
probably,
Now we're friends.
Probably-
Once I've seen your ID.
Exactly.
See your ID.
hey, honestly, why
Hey,
stop
can
at
I
the
see
ID?
that knife?
Why stop at the ID? Well, no, you make sure you have a knife, because that way you can definitely get the ID.
If you're going to be walking late at
Right.
night,
True.
carry a knife.
and then you
True.
see somebody approaching you, say,
Take
hold,
the knife out.
and you take the knife out, and you say, give me your wallet.
I need to see some identification.
I need to see some ID.
Yeah.
And if they,
And I need to see some president's IDs too.
Right.
If you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So I thought Gabe was just I thought Gabe was just trying to get him to sort of show the ID, and he might need a little encouragement to
With
do
the
that with the knife. But you're saying actually, what would it mean to see the president's ID?
Well, an ID is a picture. What
Yeah.
else do we carry around that has a picture on
Right.
it of a president?
Yeah.
I call them flashcards,
Yeah.
presidential
You-
flashcards.
do you think?
Yes.
So if you think if say Benjamin Franklin were alive
He's
today,
not a
it's-
president.
he's not a president. You're right, but he is on money.
Yeah.
that's-
Okay.
you're absolutely
So
right.
let's
It's not-
say. Okay, I'll change.
Let's say we could just use Thomas Jefferson.
Okay,
founding fathers.
perfect.
Or let's see
Yeah.
some founding fathers / presidents.
There you go.
Identification.
So anything you got, that's going to work for me. And so then say Benjamin Franklin, he's trying to buy some Woodchuck's hard cider
Yeah.
at the store, gets carded, and he's able to just produce $100 bill.
Yeah.
It's true.
Now he's that's how he
I
proves his
feel
identity.
pretty
Yeah.
confident he's
See?
walking out of there
Yeah.
with that woodchucks.
Yeah.
Look, you see, he
Yeah.
holds up the bill next to his face.
Yeah.
It's me,
It's me.
Benny F.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And I just wanted to try out self checkout for the first time.
it's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, big hero of mine. But
Nice thing is, I don't have to pull anything else out. I just use this $100 bill
Yep.
and I pay for the woodchuck.
Break the
But now I don't have my freaking ID.
Yep, that's gonna make the Newports that I want to buy later pretty tricky to get my hands on.
yeah.
Can you imagine
Benjamin Franklin?
Benjamin
Benjamin Franklin
Yeah.
sitting down with Thomas Jefferson with a 6-pack of woodchucks
Yeah.
and a few Newports.
And just sitting there and only able to smell because he's so old and only but also able to tell when someone's looking at him.
Yeah,
All of his
Yeah.
senses
He made-
abandoned.
he made the right
Is
choice.
that you looking at me, Jefferson?
Yeah. So
Is
sorry.
you looking at me, Thomas Jefferson?
I want to do something special with a key.
It's amazing. In that case, the key was key.
The key was key.
It got
was not-
filled with electricity.
It
not
was
blood.
also, to be fair, it was also kind of a clue as to,
About what was
as
happening.
to what was happening with
Yeah,
electricity.
that's man. They're inextricable in a real
Yeah.
serious
Keys
way.
are clues, and clues are key.
Almost often. Almost often.
Yeah.
Almost often. It's not so frequent that we
Right.
would say it's often, but it's almost often.
It is approaching.
It is getting
yeah.
scary
How many
close
times
to
is-
regularly.
How many times does something have to happen for it to be often?
It just has to be on before. Because then, if it's not on,
Then it can't be off.
then it can be off.
Oh, I see. When it's often.
Yeah, that's true.
you know,
I didn't think about that part.
This one's often.
that's what I call it
guys-
at night when I'm going to bed.
Yeah.
I'm just walking around often, just
Yep.
turning off lights,
Yeah.
Often
turning
all
off
these lights.
all the lights.
Yep. And also any kind of gang member who might have tried to rat on you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You
all
off them too. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
so that's probably something that's happening out in dark, cold alley at night.
Yes.
Mhm.
And to get back to the question briefly, I did really appreciate the specificity of garbage dumpster.
Yeah,
Yeah.
garbage dumpster.
Because
Yeah.
made me think about what other kind of dumpsters
Right.
we might be missing out
Right.
on.
Rice.
We've-
Rice.
Is that true?
Just a rice dumpster.
just
a
a rice
rice-
dumpster. There's got to be at least
Look, this
one
is
rice
all-
dumpster.
This is all garbage rice.
Right.
But
Oh,
it's
okay.
all rice.
But it's all rice.
so yeah.
But if
What-
you've got a bag that's like some rice that
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
garbage, but then there's other trash and
Yeah,
garbage.
no,
in
no,
there,
no,
garbage.
That's
dump-
garbage.
That's
It's
garbage.
garbage.
Doesn't go in the rice dumpster.
Yeah, you have all rice and
Yeah.
then one lentil. That's garbage.
Yep. That becomes
It is garbage because I want more lentils.
It's the same thing with the garbage dumpster has the same sort of standard of like only garbage goes in here.
Yeah.
Same thing applies for rice dumpsters.
Yep.
Only rice.
Yep.
It's all bad rice, but it is all
Yeah.
rice. Yes.
Yeah, and I mean,
And
I
that-
know we see cardboard only dumpsters,
Yeah.
but that would still be kind of in the garbage category. But I guess it's not close enough to garbage to be go in the garbage dumpster.
Yeah.
They're
it's
keeping
not.
it
So,
separate.
but the funny thing about that is with cardboard, if you get a little bit of pizza grease on your cardboard, that's garbage. It's not
That's
cardboard anymore.
all it takes.
So,
Yep. A
you
little
know,
bit of pizza grease.
It's a funny old world.
I think maybe we need more context for why.
It's crazy to ask somebody who gave us a 5-minute message for more content.
I agree,
But
I
I'm,
want
I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm just saying that feels crazy.
because us talking about killing someone who betrayed you
Right.
in the mafia made me think maybe that's why this guy's paranoid.
Yeah.
You
He
know?
has a past.
Mafiosos,
And he knows how to
jazz
use it.
enthusiasts.
Yeah.
They're jazz enthusiasts. They like Frank Sinatra. They like the crooners.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just
The
like
Rat Pack.
jazz.
Dino.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sammy Davis Jr. I don't know how big a fan they were of him really, but he was around.
He was around.
He gets a pass.
Yeah. He's an interesting guy.
Yeah.
The
Was Jerry Lewis part of the Rat Pack?
Jerry Seinfeld was.
Just like a 10-year-old Jerry Seinfeld.
Hey, when a kid's got it,
yeah.
you really just can't keep him down.
No.
Oh yeah, he had it.
He had it from the start.
Yeah, Jerry Seinfeld, huge Rat Pack guy.
Yeah, he was a big part of the Rat Pack.
Yeah.
Jerome.
What I was gonna say,
He
though,
was Jerome then.
yeah,
Yeah.
yep. They didn't call him Jerry, which is funny because you usually have a nickname if you're in
If you're in the Rat Pack,
Yeah.
Yeah.
like Dino.
Dino.
Yeah.
Yep.
Old blue eyes.
Old blue eyes.
Old one eye.
Yeah.
So maybe he's paranoid because he's part of the mob and he does think that he's gonna be offed.
Mm-hmm.
I definitely thought a guilty conscience
Yeah.
could be playing
Yeah.
into it.
How
where
many
it's a
mob
paranoia.
guys have hidden in garbage dumpsters? You know,
Mhm.
lots.
I see. That's how you're
Yeah.
triangulating it.
Not
It's-
just that,
Oh,
but he's
okay. You're-
paranoia
yeah,
about
yeah.
the whole thing. You know,
Mhm.
why would you be so frightened of someone in an alleyway unless you had done something
Yeah.
that someone might be
Yeah.
trying to kill you for?
Yeah, that's a pretty common thing to have to try to kind of, like slough off. Like, why do you smell like you're dressed to the nines, but you smell like you've been sitting in a garbage dumpster?
Right.
And they have just kind of some ready answers
Oh,
for that. Yeah,
I
that's-
just strangers in the night. Frank Sinatra.
yeah. They'll just say strangers in the night, and everybody
Yeah.
goes, "Oh, this guy got scared, had to jump into a dumpster, and that's why he smells."
This guy was so scared of love. That's another option here.
You think they're scared
He's
of
so
love?
scared of commitment
Yeah.
that
That's
maybe
true.
I'm going to see this person and it's a
Yeah.
beautiful woman that I'm going to fall in love with and want to marry.
What if she's
But I'm
the
not
one?
ready for marriage yet.
I'm not ready to settle down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What if she's the one, and then you just say no, thank you, which, as we established, is just running away.
Yeah.
Yeah, running away. Yeah, but his question for us is, what do we do?
Yeah.
What do I do?
Always in bed at home by like 9:30.
I don't do dark, cold nights.
Never.
Okay.
Never.
So I would just avoid. It's not going to come up for me. It's just not in the cards,
Yeah.
so to speak.
Yeah. And
It's not in one of my hands.
Hands. Yeah, one of your hands.
yeah, there you go.
I know. Well, for me, I'm gonna snap, and we'll see what happens.
If you get a snap back.
Yeah.
And then you know,
Start snapping.
fellow
Yeah.
jazz fan.
In rhythm, fellow jazz fan, or opposing gang.
I see.
So actually,
okay.
it doesn't
That
really
doesn't really help
So-
you out.
You're saying that
But-
if you start snapping and then he starts,
Yes.
it could. That's an inconclusive test.
Now we're just gonna snap as we get closer. Are we gonna
Yeah.
pull the knives, or are we
Yeah.
just gonna dance?
Yeah.
Yeah. And in that case, you might have found the one.
Oh yeah, dance. If I dance, but unless it means like let's dance, like gangsters
Yeah.
say it, and then it's like, oh,
Honestly,
You are really up a creek.
this guy,
Whoever
has
you
a
are.
it's a great question because it really seems like there's no clear-cut answers
There's no clear-cut answer
about
to
it,
this
which
one.
I think is really interesting because that's kind of what the question is about.
Is can you give me a clear-cut
It's like-
answer to this?
yeah.
I think here's the thing: is I'm really uncomfortable leaving it on a we didn't give you this guy
No,
an
we
answer.
certainly can't do that.
Can't do that.
Thing that's not how we roll. We give definitive answers, like I said at the beginning, a little shoebox wrapped in brown paper with a pretty pink bow.
But at the same time, it's hard to feel too bad because he did take 5 minutes to ask a question, and here we are running out of time
running
to
out of
answer
time
the
to
question.
answer the
So
question.
maybe that's a good
So-
lesson about how you should only send in 1
minute
long
or else
question.
or else we'll be right up against the wall because you stole 4 minutes
And
from
we
us.
simply cannot
We
do
don't
an
just-
extra 4 minutes.
we don't just do 4 more minutes. Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, okay. Yeah. I mean, there's no conclusive. The thing is that because it is just a description of what his question is, what do we do?
What do we do?
So we just told him.
Yeah.
I
So it
don't
is-
go out
it
at
is-
night.
Well, I think, but I think it's nothing good happens after 9:30
Mm.
out in the world. That's true. So
I'm sorry.
what's that?
SNL doesn't start until like 11 or something.
Okay. Yeah, but I'm gonna watch. I'm not gonna go to an SNL taping.
Okay. Wow. I guess we don't share the same dreams.
So you're
Gonna have
okay.
to cancel Josh's birthday
Yeah,
party
great.
plan.
If you're saying the one exception,
We were going to
is-
go to SNL 51 next year, Josh.
So you're saying the one exception is SNL
SNL
happens
after 9:30,
9:30.
and it's very good.
Yes.
So,
And I guess I have to assent to that. SNL is still very good as it's ever been
it's
right now.
crazy how they still haven't peaked after 50 years.
After 50 years, it looks like it's about to hockey stick.
Yeah.
They haven't peaked. They're not paying attention. They're not looking at what they're doing.
No, they traded their gift of sight for the ability to tell when somebody's watching the
So
show.
they don't even have to.
Yes.
They don't even have to have a ratings instrument.
Yeah.
They just are
They just know.
aware.
Aware of how many eyes are on them.
Yeah. And
And
the smell of the performers.
And it really does show that they can't see what's going on
Yeah.
at any point.
Sometimes it feels like they're not able to understand
Right.
what's going on the show.
It really does just feel like a completely inert blob with a big old nose on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A nose that doesn't even know it's there.
Yep.
Thanks so much for listening to Advanced Answering Techniques. If you'd like us to treat your questions this way, you can send them to advancedansweringtechniques@gmail.com. We're looking for an audio file, usually about a minute in length. This one was a massive exception to that. Guys, anything else we need to deal with right here at the end? We've gone kind of long, but I don't know. Maybe there's something else that we should deal with right at the end.
No, I think we're all good as long as you guys are with.
Where we ended up on this?
Yeah.
I think so. I mean, I just wouldn't go out. I would tell him if you do have to go out, maybe catch a ride with another jazz pal. That might be a good buddy system
some
sort of
kind of
deal.
Outnumbering.
Yeah, at least you then have the security of another person to dial, text the cops or whatever.
Yeah.
One other suggestion, just throw it out there.
Texting the cops. I think that's.
If you think they're going to
I've
be.
never thought about it, but I think that's a good way of getting some. Frequently I don't pay attention to phone calls anymore.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
what you doing?
Yeah. Yeah.
And sorry, Caleb, you were gonna say.
Take a picture of something and send it to the cops, and with the caption "crime."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Clue. I found this key.
Clue. Yeah, I was gonna say, if you are not sure about what's going to happen, best defense is a good offense. Take your knife out and
Yes.
stab, stab, stab.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.